Hello SFDC folks. So today we are going to discuss about invocable apex, that is how we can invoke an apex class from our flow. So in our business needs or use cases there might be a scenario where we have to perform a complex process or any functionality via flow where we need to call the apex class to do the simple kind of operation. So we'll start with basically let's take a use case. I mean let's take a scenario where we have to implement this functionality. So let's take a use case like I have a account record page where I want to display here as a screen the details of that opportunity related to this account which has the least amount. So for example, this account has three opportunities and out of which this second opportunity has the least amount. So I want this to be displayed on this detail page here. That I will achieve using Apex, using flow as a screen and performing the action via Apex. So let's say this, I mean the scenario which I said should be simply like this, somewhat similar to this. This opportunity details with least amount is as below, then the details of that opportunity record. So for this, we will first create a screen flow. Just by clicking on this new flow, choose the type as screen, and then I will just make you go through each and every component that I have used inside my flow. So the first and foremost component inside this flow is my Apex action, which is nothing but the invocation of an Apex class, which is doing the operation, that is trying to find out the opportunity which has the least amount and returning me that opportunity that I will display in this screen. So for this, the first step is like creating a record ID variable. This is nothing but a variable that will store the ID of that account on which we will embed this flow screen. So this record ID will be sent to the Apex class, which will then fetch the opportunities of this account and then return us the that particular account, that particular opportunity which has the lowest amount. So let's first discuss the Apex class that we have created for this purpose. So here it is. I have named this Apex class as invocable Apex from flow example, and then the name of the method. That method should be annotated with this invocable method, and this label is nothing but the subject of this method, what it does and what is the purpose of this particular invocable method. It is nothing but get opportunity with least amount is the subject, and this is the description. So this subject is very helpful. It will help us identify what this method is doing. Now let's go inside the method. Here the arguments, that is the parameters which is accepting. So always remember that invocable method will always accept arguments in the form of list. So I want to send and record ID to this method, so it should be inside the list of string. Since ID is a type of string, so I will pass that ID inside this list and then retrieve that ID while using this index, that is the zero index of this list will contain the record ID which I have sent from my flow. Now what I will do is I will use this account ID to query my opportunity by simply writing a SQL query, name amount from opportunity, where account ID is whatever record ID that has been sent from the flow, and then I will just sort them on the basis of amount in the ascending order and limiting it to one record, that is return me the opportunities or related to this account in the order which has, I mean the lowest amount will be stored on the very first index of the list, and it should be just return me one record because I only need that one particular opportunity whose amount is lowest. Then what will I do is I will simply return this list. That list will contain one opportunity record whose amount is lowest. By this logic or order by amount in the ascending order, we can be sure that the first element of this list will contain the opportunity record whose amount is lowest. And also please remember that an invocable method will always return anything in the form of list only. So here, although I wanted to return one opportunity record, I have to return it in the form of list. Now let's go to our flow. This is the Apex class. This is a very simple logic. It is just fetching one opportunity record whose amount is the lowest, which is related to that account. Now let's go to flow. Here the first action that I've used is Apex action. This is nothing but it will just call the Apex class and retrieve the value whatever it will return to me. So let me just show you how I have created this action. You just have to drag this action element from the element section, then choose the filter by type. Here you will see Apex action. Now start typing the name of the class. So if you remember, this was the label of my Apex class, that invocable method, get opportunity with least amount. You can want to see it again, here it is. So this helps us identify the class because the label will be displayed in a highlighted way. Then the name of the Apex class will be written, invocable Apex. I just select this. You can name it. This is the name of the element, that is action element. Just name it anything XYZ. Now comes the arguments that you want to pass to the Apex class. So our Apex class expects that it will receive one record ID, that is the account ID. So let's pass this record ID, and whatever the Apex class, whatever it will return, I would like to store it in a separate variable that I can use to display in the screen. So let's select this checkbox, manually assign variables, and what will I do is I have created one record variable in my flow called opportunity return. This is a single record variable. It will simply store the first element of the list that the Apex class is returning. Here see, I am returning the opportunity list, and the first element of this list should be the opportunity record which is meeting my criteria, and I will just store that returned value into this variable manually. So this is the action element that I have set here. This is calling my invocable Apex class, passing this record ID as a parameter, and storing the output of that Apex class in a variable called opportunity return. Now what will I do is I will simply display that returned opportunity details into a screen element. So this is my screen element. I have used the display text element, and here I have just displayed this message in a highlighted way. Then I'm just simply displaying the details of that opportunity that has been returned. So as I said, the opportunity returned variable is the one which is storing the value output of that whatever the Apex class has written. I'm just displaying the name and the amount. So our flow is now complete, it is activated. Let's embed this flow in our account detail page so that it is visible in our real scenario. I will just edit this page in a Lightning App Builder. Then search for flows element from the left hand side panel. Flow. Let's drag it below the highlighted panel. And now we will select the name of that flow which we want to embed here. So it's invocable flow example is the name of my flow. Then there is one, as I said, there is one record ID variable in my flow which is expecting the ID of the account where this screen will be visible. See, I have marked this as available for input, so it will accept a record ID. So I will just check this box, pass record ID into this variable. Now let's save it. Okay, let's go back to the detail page of that account. So here it is. See, this particular account had 3 opportunity records, as you can clearly see here. The one with the name of Oppo 3 for US has the minimum amount of $200, so it is visible on the below the highlighted panel as part of our